Spock's death was one of the most heartbreaking and important moments in the Star Trek franchise, but the decision to bring him back from the dead was a stroke of pure genius too. Debuting in 1966 as part of the USS Enterprise crew on Star Trek, the original series, the Vulcan first officer served as Captain Kirk's voice of reason using his level-headed logic. Actor Leonard Nimoy helped to establish what a Vulcan looked and acted like, and all Vulcan performances after him owe a debt of gratitude to his groundbreaking stint in the pointy ears. However, as the franchise hit the big screen, it became clear that Star Trek needed to take risks if it was going to succeed. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan was a noticeably darker adventure for the Enterprise crew, and the script established real stakes for the first time in the franchise. Spock's noble sacrifice at the end of the film was the payoff to his years-long character arc, but it also helped the other Enterprise crew members grow as well. Reversing that decision could have been a slap in the face of fans, but actually worked out perfectly that Spock's death served an important part in Kirk's Star Trek character arc. Kirk faces the no-win situation for the first time. William Shatner as Admiral James T. Kirk and Leonard Nimoy as Captain Spock looking through the glass at one another in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Unlike its predecessor, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan is a multi-layered film that takes the classic Star Trek heroes and places them in a grounded story. The classic TV series was known for its morality tales and quirky space adventures, but The Wrath of Khan aimed for something more mature. As such, it was necessary for Admiral Kirk to finally grow up and begin to act his age, and Spock's death is the final catalyst. The swashbuckling former captain had largely gotten away scot-free during his tenure in Starfleet, but the ending of Wrath of Khan changed that. From the beginning of the film, Kirk isn't happy about getting older, and that is symbolized by the antique reading glasses he was gifted by Dr. McCoy. He wears them several times in the film to feign vulnerability, before cleverly striking against Khan. However, when faced with a no-win situation, Kirk's real vulnerability is forced to come to the surface. When the glasses are seen for the last time, they have been damaged beyond repair, and that marks the destruction of Kirk's final mask. Spock's death was the type of scenario that Kirk always tried to avoid, but he couldn't. Harkening back to the Wrath of Khan's literary influences, Spock gifts Kirk a copy of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. This foreshadows Spock's death, but also helps Kirk understand his own emotions when he reads the novel later. The Vulcan's cool logic would sometimes chafe against Kirk's humanity, but the book is a way of convincing the Admiral of the logic of his decision to sacrifice himself for the greater good. Kirk was forced to pay the price for his own short-sightedness, not through his own destruction, but through the loss of his closest friend. Spock returning from the dead allowed his character to grow. The Vulcan was the same but different after coming back to life. Following the heartbreak and outrage of Spock's death in The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock quickly undid everything by bringing him back. While that could have turned out to be a shallow decision that stripped the previous movie of its emotional impact, it's how the franchise handled Spock's return that made it work so well. Instead of simply devising some contrived reason for the original Spock to come back, the beloved character is instead resurrected by the science of the Genesis planet and is regenerated from infancy. Eventually, he is reunited with his soul that was kept inside Dr. McCoy, but he's ostensibly a new Spock. While being re-educated at the beginning of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, he particularly struggles with the question, how do you feel? Naturally, that is because he is part Vulcan, but also because his returned self is not the same one who existed before. The Spock shown in subsequent films is not as rigid in the logic that he applies to others, and he even laughs when they complete their mission to save the whales in Star Trek IV. The concept of Vulcan logic is an interesting world-building detail, but it also makes it difficult for Spock to grow and change like his Enterprise comrades. Bringing him back from the dead essentially hit the reset button, and allowed Spock to add new depth to his character that wasn't possible before. He's still the logical Vulcan, but he is also willing to break the rules to achieve his goals, and that would continue long after the events of the original Star Trek movies when he appeared in The Next Generation.